Super People was arguably the best new Battle Royale of 2022 with endless potential, but due to a long string of stupid actions, the game went from over 4 million players in the closed beta to on the verge of dying with less than 6,000 players concurrent at peak hours each day. I spent hours making a 25-page, over 10,000 word long document breaking down every single thing management did wrong, the wins they had, and how to save the game. Many people have no idea what the hell they're talking about, so I took hours out of my day to explain the rise and fall of Super People and if we can actually save it. I love Super People and I'm very passionate about the game, which is why I'm pissed off at how far the game has fallen and how many stupid ass decisions were made by management that could have been easily avoided. This video will explain all of the super complicated bullshit that has happened that has put Super People on life support. I want to start off this video by saying the first week of 2023, the game in its current state is actually very fun. If you quit a long time ago, I strongly suggest you hop on, grab some friends, head on over to first-person trios, and try out some games during the peak hours. The biggest issue the game has right now is low player base, thus increasing queue times and making the lobbies a little bit smaller. The looting, gunplay, movement are all good. The time to kill and ultimate level could use a little bit of work, but the new map POIs are great, and the game is a refreshing alternative to Warzone and Apex. Keep in mind, this video is all about the rise and fall of the game, so I need to go over the history of a lot of the major issues the game has had. That way we can avoid them in the future. For those of you who are unaware, the closed and open beta of the game was pretty good. The only main issue was the game kept shutting down and coming back again, so the hype and information surrounding the game was lackluster here and there, but the important thing was, during the open beta, there were over 4 million unique players that downloaded and played the game, so there was a lot of stuff going into the final beta, and there was a great chance for this game to work out if the shitty corporate overlords didn't make so many bad decisions that ultimately kicked this game in the nuts. The first massive blunder that Super People made was between the final beta and early access. For those of you who are unaware, the final beta had over $1 million in prize pools across 15 different tournaments. The game was pretty popular with very high peaks in player base, and the viewership on Twitch was at an all-time high. Super People partners were super active, and there was a lot of people involved and ready for this game's release. Here's the main issue though. This period of the final beta was between August 14th and 30th, and the early access was over a month away on October 11th. So not only did they let a lot of the hype die after spending all this money on tournaments, but they released the game in between Warzone 2 and Overwatch 2, two of the biggest games ever, and they decided to put the game right there, which is the worst possible day to release the game. We did peak at around 46,000 concurrent players on the release day, but had we released it about a week after the final beta, when there were no other games around, everyone was screaming for a new game, and there was no competition, we could have easily crushed over 100,000 concurrent players, and considering the final beta to early access changes were very minimal, this would have been the ultimate decision, and many partners, myself included, were begging the devs to do this. However, they did not have the power, and corporate did not let this decision go through, so that was the first major blunder. To make things worse, the new player experience and phone number verification were major issues across the board. Many players were wrongfully banned due to a bug with their phone number not getting verified or verifying improperly, and this made it very difficult for new players to join. Not only did players not want to give their phone number to a massive Asian video game developer, some were physically unable to do so depending on their country of origin, which made availability horrible for new players. Beyond this, new players would play against bots when they first started to help them learn the game. It's a good idea in theory, however, the issue is they never told new players that they were playing in bot lobbies because of this reason. So due to miscommunication once again, many players quit thinking the game had no real players and was filled with bots, even though this was far from the truth. Not to mention, this resulted in massive review bombing, saying the game was filled with bots. I did speak with the director of Super People, and this issue is slightly better now, but the damage was already done given this was right around the time of the release, so we hemorrhaged a lot of new players and missed out on a massive market. If you quit Super People specifically because of this issue, please come back and just know now that you'll only play a few bot games and then you will fight real players. Originally, you had to reach all the way to level 5 before you could get out of them, so it was very confusing for some players because this was never stated. Again, miscommunication was the culprit. Let's continue the thread on miscommunication, and let's cover the hacking allegations and all the review bombs saying, oh my god, there's so many cheaters. First off, let's start by saying I have over 1,000 hours in the game, and I've talked to many veterans, and almost every veteran will tell you they've run into less than 20 cheaters, and most of them have been banned. So the question is, why are there all these reviews saying there's tons of cheaters? The answer is quite simple and extremely stupid. The replay system that shows you what happens on the kill cam is extremely buggy, extremely broken, and makes almost everyone look like a cheater. When somebody kills you and you go to watch the replay back, their crosshair could be aiming at the sky, in the ground, to the right, to the left, and yet they'll still be hitting all headshots or body shots on you. The whole replay system is atrocious and makes everyone look like they're cheating. So new players would join, they get dunked on by a normal player or a good player and instantly assume, oh my god, they must be cheating, and then they would leave a bad report. Combine this with people being able to change the flag of their country to anything they want. A lot of NA players change them to China and other Asian countries, and since people are racist, they're like, oh my god, I'm dying to Asian cheaters, when in reality they're just bad at the game and they died to an average player, and because of the spectator system was bugged, it looked like they were cheating. Beyond this, a lot of new players don't understand the abilities in the game. Like Seeker, he has a heartbeat that tells you the location of an enemy in a close radius, so if they die to a Seeker that pre-fired him, they're like, oh my god, Seeker has wall hacks, when in reality it's just his ability. So combine these two major issues together and wrap that up with all the miscommunication, and you got this massive review bombing saying, oh my god, there's hackers everywhere. They could have disabled the replay system at any time because it does more harm than good. They did not. They could have fixed the replay system, which would have taken a lot more work, or my biggest suggestion was just add a disclaimer and let people know, hey guys, our replay system's bugged, not everyone's cheating, and many of these reviews might have been removed, honestly. So hopefully if you guys are listening to this now and you left a bad review because of this exact reason, you go and change that because it's untrue. There really is not a big cheater problem in this game. There's less cheaters in this game per player than Apex, Warzone, Overwatch, all these other games. I will say, yes, there are cheaters, and yes, some of these reports are warranted, but given how few cheaters you run into that are actually cheating, this should not be as big of a deal as it is, and most of it was fueled by racism, miscommunication, and just general stupidity and arrogance. Now let's continue our thread on stupidity and talk about how poorly the cosmetic and skin system was handled. When the cosmetic system was introduced in the early access, players had to buy diamonds from the shop for real life money, trade those diamonds in for exploration tickets, which they could then rent a skin for 3, 7, or 30 days depending on which tile they selected and how lucky they were. Once players had 100 days in total, they could claim one item permanently in their inventory. This system was confusing, poorly explained, and expensive, and it was criticized by the community as gambling. The system was fixed a few days later after its release, but the damage had already been done and very widespread, and many players quit the game permanently because of this reason. The developers later transferred this system and made it so that it was used with in-game gold instead of real-life diamond money, which was a much better decision overall because now players can grind for in-game gold and get free skins. Another big issue that was separate and was only recently fixed is that you could actually buy the same skin multiple times, and unless you contacted support, you would never get your money back. In my many gaming titles under my belt, I have never run into a game where when I bought a skin, I could buy it again despite already owning the item. This was a major oversight, and there's no telling how many players got screwed over by this. I will say if you contact support because this happened to you, you will get your money back, but just in general, this is just another major L, and I don't know how this was overlooked. So in summary, you had to basically gamble in order to unlock skins permanently, and nobody liked the system whatsoever. And although they got rid of it, the game got review bombed because of it, and many people quit due to this dog shit system. After you watch this video all the way to the end, if you want more details on this along with every other topic covered here and some that you missed, be sure to read that document. It's massive, it took a long time, and it's totally awesome. Now let's move on. The balancing in early access was decent across the board with the exception of one massive elephant, the firearms expert. For those of you who do not know, this class was insanely overpowered and terrorized the entire lobby of every single server for most of early access. This character did not get a significant nerf or disabled for over a month straight, and during this time we lost about 50% of the total player base that was playing the game at the time, and beyond that we also lost about 50% of the streamers and partners that were playing this solely because of this reason. I can confirm this because I talked to a lot of the partners, and this is the main reason they quit. So had they just disabled this character, maybe we could have kept like 50% of our player base, but they didn't do that, and nobody knows why, and although they apologized, it doesn't help us at all. It was like the worst decision ever, and it was such an easy fix, and yet it went unchecked, and we lost about half of the player base due to an overpowered ass character that ruined the entire game. Now let's talk about some oceanic servers. They were promised to players before early access. I can also confirm that these servers were built and ready to go long before early access even happened. But the game failed to deliver on that promise to have servers for the oceanic region, which caused more review bombing and damaged trust with the community. I suggested to the dev team that they should turn on the server for at least a month and give players a concurrent player base to reach in order to leave the servers on forever. There is no way that they would lose on more than 50% of the revenue on this venture, not to mention it would be great publicity and marketing for the game as a whole, but they did not do this. They could have taken money from the tournaments they held in December that were virtually useless and did this instead, and it would have been so much better across the board. However, we will never know. The oceanic players won't play without a server, and they won't turn on the server unless they have players, so it's a never-ending Mexican standoff that I hope ends soon because it's just getting ridiculous. I go a lot more into the depth on the marketing fails in the document linked below, so go check that out after you watch this video all the way to the end. But they did spend a ton of money on tournaments in the final beta and then didn't release the game, as you know, so they wasted that money. They also spent a lot of money on big name creators like Shroud and Timmy, who stopped playing the game and then shit talked it a little bit afterward. Not to mention they both have a similar audience, so the money they spent for each of these could have been spent in so many better places. They also didn't broadcast any of these tournaments during the $1 Million series, which they could have easily gotten 5,000 to 10,000 concurrent viewers easily by embedding the broadcast on the GG launcher, which would have really built up hype and united the community as well, but they didn't do that either. So long story short, they didn't do the best type of marketing for cheap, and they did the worst type of marketing and overpaid for it. Read the document for more info, but let's keep on going and hop into the December update. The game was on life support long before the December update came out, so for those of you saying, oh my god, this update killed the game, you're just wrong, period. Removing crafting was sad for me, but it really isn't needed with the new gameplay style, and I did suggest a fix for this in my long document, so be sure to check that out after this video. They definitely had a good chance to revive the game a bit with the Super People 2 update, but due to more bad planning by management, they fumbled the bag yet again. I got to try out the update ahead of time along with some of the other more important partners, and I gave them a very long document of feedback and important fixes to do before the game launched, and they didn't implement anything before the update went live. They did do some of the more important things after the update launched in the first week, which was a good thing, but they could have just delayed the update by 1 week and did all this stuff before the patch went live, thus saving us so many lost players. Many players came back to give the game a second chance, but instantly left for those reasons I told them in my feedback. You can see the full list of feedback in the document below, but much of it was just no-brainer stuff, like not giving the Gatling gun more damage than a mythical M4 and twice the fire rate on a character that's level 4 30 seconds into the game. That's just a dumbass idea, and that was one thing that they could have fixed, but they literally let that go through and go unchecked for at least 3 days, and then another 3 days after that. I even discussed some of these massive changes and issues in my last video, then I uploaded that video before the update went live. Many people quit during this period, which resulted in more review bombing and a ton of negative reviews, which, as you see, this has become a massive pattern and why we have a lack of so many new players. I just want to briefly go over the game mode changes that were made during the December update as well. As many of you know, duos got removed, which is very sad, and 4-mans ended up going to 3-man trios. I would just like to say, if you are a 4-man crew that got split up because of this change, I sympathize for you and you have a right to complain. However, if you did not have a tight-knit 4-man crew, there's no reason to complain about this change. Trios is better in the new version of the game with the faster movement, gunplay rotations, etc. Trios encourages more fights, the games are faster, which means faster queue times, more games per day. It's better than squads in literally every aspect in this new version of the game. So you have no reason to complain about going from 4-mans to trios unless you had a 4-man that was split up. But overall, trios is better for the game in general. Also, duos leaving is very sad, but the game cannot support 3 game mode types with how few players there are. So if you want duos to come back, be sure you tell your friends to play, because the more players we have, the more game modes we can have in the future. The battle pass system sucks. Beyond all the horrible failures that you've seen throughout this very long video, you would think that the battle pass could be some type of saving grace. Yes, the battle pass is pretty cool, it's a decent price and the skins are awesome, but that's not the problem. The problem is the horrible experience system. You can only get 15,000 experience per day, which translates over to a level and a half in the battle pass. The battle pass is 50 levels in total, so it takes quite a large amount of days to actually complete it. This system screws over anyone that wants to play at their own pace, especially those those who can't play during the weekdays and only on the weekends. This whole entire system is horrible. It does not benefit a single person, and the experience cap should 100% be removed. Or at the bare minimum, the cap should be doubled and experience should carry over each day instead of resetting every 24-hour period. This is not good for anyone, especially the game that is having players quit due to this issue, not to mention leaving more bad reviews if we didn't have enough stupid ass bad reviews. Before I hop into whether or not the game is going bankrupt, I just want to throw this one little thing in. Adding proximity chat to the game would go a long way in saving it. A game like Warzone gets over 1 billion views alone on TikTok every single day just from proximity chat content. Adding it back into the game would make a lot more opportunities for people to make content, get a lot of easy viewership, and it would just be fun for everyone in the community. Yes, it comes with toxicity here and there, but that's why you have a mute button and you can ban people from using it. Only veterans will remember, but proximity chat actually used to be in the game and it was an absolute blast, and I hope that they do end up bringing that back into the game. Another thing before I get into the last point about bankruptcy is please use the hashtag savesuperpeople on Twitter whenever you upload a new video. I'm going to be spamming that as well. Post all your best and funniest moments from super people so we can drum up just a little bit of publicity, and like every single post that you see under the hashtag savesuperpeople. Now, is the game going bankrupt? And here's the honest truth. As many of you know, there was a leak from an anonymous person with the source of, "Trust me bro," that stated the game was going bankrupt and dying in February. This is not confirmed by any means, so I suggest you take that with a grain of salt. I will say, although the game is in a good place now in terms of gameplay, and it is way more fun than a lot of the previous updates, the player base is still declining rapidly and they are running out of money. This game still has an absurd amount of potential and the dev team is quite excellent. The biggest thing holding it back is poor communication, an absurd amount of misinformation, and slow patching caused by bad management and too many departments slowing things down. It is hard to say if they will go bankrupt or be bought out by a bigger developer. Either way, the game needs help. I will stand by the game and play it until it officially dies, but I pray every day for it to turn around. This game genuinely does need a lot. I go over all the changes needed in the massive document, so be sure to check that out down in the description. But in the meantime, I will leave you with this. Some of the biggest things that we need is a big shakeup in management. As shown by the player charts and the last 10 minutes of this video, management has dropped the ball over and over and over and over again. The development team cannot release patches due to management and all these departments slowing things down, so something needs to give. Beyond that, they need way faster decision making. Example, the XP cap on the battle pass. Not a single person has said a single thing positive about it, and yet that is still in place. I don't know why they didn't increase the cap or remove it entirely, but no one's gonna know because of the next problem, which is communication. Communication, for the love of all things holy and pure, please communicate with the community better. It's completely unacceptable that veterans of the community don't even find out about major updates until it's already been released for like a week or more. They also really got to start using the partners a lot more. Myself and so many other creators, they have added us as partners so we can test out new features of the game and give them feedback, given we play this game more than someone with a full-time job. However, most of these patches, they don't even use us, and when they do use us, they don't even take our feedback and update it before the patch goes live. So what is the point of having us test stuff to find stuff if you're not going to patch it before the patch goes live? Doesn't make any sense. I believe that a lot of these issues can be solved if another company does come in and buy it, but I'd be more than happy with them just firing half of the management and redoing it from the inside, removing how many cooks are in the kitchen so we can get some damn efficiency. Of course, all of these problems won't matter if we don't have money for marketing, so that's also one of the biggest issues that we need to save the game, is to actually market the game, given how many people don't even know the game exists. Without efficiency as well, this company will not get back off the ground, let alone on its feet, and will most likely go down to rest in Atlantis with all of the other games that could have been. Yes, this is very depressing, and if you want any more details beyond this, be sure to check out the document that I will link in the pinned comment section, and it'll be on all my social medias as well. Feel free to comment any thoughts or questions down below. I'll respond to literally everything, and have yourselves an amazing day. I'm gonna go cry now.